Hi guys, welcome back to TOEFL with Juva. Today we are talking about a score booster for TOEFL writing. I scored 30 in TOEFL writing, and in my TOEFL essays I used a lot of transitions. So today I'm going to show you the most important transitions that you should use in your TOEFL essays to improve your TOEFL writing score. By the way, if you want to get more tips about the TOEFL and if you want to download templates, subscribe to this channel so that you don't miss the next video. Let's get started, guys. Let's start with enumerations. Enumerations are especially important when you want to talk about several arguments a person makes, or when you want to talk about your own arguments. For example, in task 1 in TOEFL writing, you need to write about the arguments a lecturer and a writer make, and they will make several of them. So you will definitely need words to enumerate these arguments. Or in task 2 in TOEFL writing, you will need to talk about your own arguments and you need to provide several of them. So in this case, it's also really useful if you know a few words so that you can enumerate them. For example, you can use the words first, second, and third in order to express that you are providing several arguments. But these are not sufficient. You will need more words than that. Other words that you can use are further, furthermore, moreover, additionally. And here's a tip for you guys. If you have problems reaching the word count in TOEFL writing, you can use transitions that are a bit longer. So, for example, instead of additionally, you can use in addition to that, because in addition to that consists of more words than additionally, which is only one word. So if you do this several times throughout your TOEFL essay, you can increase your word count significantly. Let's go on with examples. Especially in task 2 in TOEFL writing, you will need to provide examples. Normally, the question asks you about your opinion, and you need to state your opinion and support your opinion by providing suitable arguments. And additionally, you should provide examples that support your arguments. For example, these can be personal examples. That means a personal experience you've made. And in this case, it's really useful knowing a few words that help you introduce these examples. Expressions that you can use in this case are for example and for instance. And you should definitely make sure that you don't only use for example all the time. So don't write for example, for example, for example, because this will be really boring. Also use for instance so that you show ETS that you have a broad range of vocabulary and that you know how to introduce an example in different ways. And there are further expressions that you can use when you want to provide an example. Imagine that the prompt in TOEFL writing in task 2 asks you whether you think that it's a good idea that children learn a foreign language at school. And now imagine that you are in favor of that. You think it's a great idea if children study a foreign language at school. And one of your examples is a personal example. For instance, you could write, for example, I had to study English at school, and this enabled me to communicate with people from different countries. And now imagine that you want to go more into detail. You want to provide an example that tells the reader, look, I was really able to communicate with people from different countries. So you could write, In particular, in 2020, I went to the US and I was able to talk to people in English. So you're doing two things here. The first thing you're doing is you provide a personal example. You tell the reader, look, I had to study English at school and this was amazing because it enabled me to communicate with other people from different countries. And the second thing you're doing is you go in depth. You tell the reader, look, I went to the US and I was able to talk to people in English. So by using the expression in particular, you can go more into detail regarding your example. Another expression that you could use instead of in particular is more precisely. Let's go on with talking about a contrast. In TOEFL writing, you will sometimes need to contrast things. For example, in task 2, you may talk about an argument that you provide and you want to tell the reader why this argument is good, and perhaps you want to contrast something in order to show why your argument holds true. In this case, you need transitions that help you express that you are talking about a contrast. For example, you can use in contrast. You can also use rather or otherwise. Sometimes you may also want to talk about similarities between things. In this case, you can use similarly, in the same way, or likewise. Let's get to the next point, unexpected results. Especially in task 1 in TOEFL writing, you will need to talk about that because in this task you talk about the arguments the lecturer and the writer make, and you need to oppose these arguments, and so it may happen that you need to talk about unexpected results. And in this case, it's really important that you know the requisite transitions that you can use in this case. So, for example, you can use however, nevertheless, nonetheless, or yet. Let's go on with consequences. In your TOEFL essays, you will need to talk about consequences. And in this case, it's really important that you have transitions that signal to the reader, okay, look, I'm talking about a consequence now. For example, you can use thus, hence, as a consequence, consequently, or as a result. Let's get to the last point, conclusions. Guys, in task 2 in TOEFL writing, you need to write a conclusion. So you need an expression that indicates that you are talking about your conclusion now. For example, you can use in conclusion or in sum. I'd recommend memorizing one of them. You only need to write a conclusion in task 2 in TOEFL writing, and you only need one transition for that. So pick an expression that you like, memorize it, and use it for your conclusion in task 2 in TOEFL writing. That's it. These are the most important transitions that you should use in TOEFL writing. If you like, download the illustration. You can find the link in the description below. Of course, if you have any questions or a video wish, tell me about that in the comments below. I'd love to hear about that. And if you found this video helpful and if you want to know more about the TOEFL and download templates, hit the subscribe button so that you don't miss the next video. I'd love to see you here next time, guys. Bye bye!